Once upon a time in the world of fairy tales, darkness always met its end. Villains lost, heroes triumphed, and all was well. But what if the endings weren't as simple as they seemed? What if those who wore the mantle of villainy were never truly evil, but rather broken, forgotten, or misunderstood? Today, we take a journey into the forgotten pages of the storybook to ask, what if Disney villains had happy endings? Scar. The forgotten brother, the sun had barely risen over the Pride Lands when Scar awoke from a restless sleep. In this version of the tale, he was still the younger brother of King Mufasa, but their relationship had not eroded into rivalry. Instead, the whispers of envy and unworthiness that once haunted his brother were heard by Scar. Mufasa, wise beyond his years, had learned from the mistakes of their ancestors. Rather than cast Scar aside, he brought him into the fold. The royal advisors were skeptical, but Mufasa stood firm. No lion should be left in the shadows. Scar was named royal strategist, and though he still bore his trademark sarcasm, his mind flourished in this new role. He designed efficient hunting routes and coordinated seasonal migrations. Pride Rock prospered, not despite Scar, but because of him. One evening, Scar stood beside Mufasa, overlooking their kingdom. "All this time," he murmured, "I thought I had to take it by force. But you gave it freely." Mufasa placed a paw on his brother's shoulder. Sometimes, the greatest strength is knowing when to trust. The circle of life did not end in tragedy, but in balance. Ursula, the misunderstood sea. Witch far beneath the waves, Ursula floated in her cove, surrounded not by the tentacles of vengeance, but by scrolls, herbs, and seashells infused with healing magic. In this reality, King Triton had never banished her for her gifts. Instead, he invited her to join the Royal Council as the official ambassador of deep magic. Ariel grew up hearing stories of the mysterious Sea Witch, not as a villain, but as a wise woman who could grant wishes at a price of honesty and humility. When Ariel eventually approached Ursula, she did not engage in manipulation. Instead, Ursula offered wisdom. Love without voice is like a song without music. Go, child, speak with more than words. Ariel learned to win Eric's heart not through enchantment, but through her passion for the human world, her kindness, and her bravery. Ursula, in turn, became a mentor to merfolk and humans alike, a bridge between worlds. She discovered that power was not in domination, but in service. Hades. The unappreciated god in the fiery depths of the underworld, Hades lounged on a throne of obsidian, his blue flame hair dancing with each sarcastic mutter. But in this retelling, Hades is not plotting Olympus's downfall. Instead, he is finally recognized for the burden he carries. Zeus, for once, calls a divine council. "Let us honor Hades," he announces, "for he ensures balance, guides souls, and keeps chaos at bay." Hercules, no longer a pawn in godly politics, seeks out his uncle. "Teach me," he says. "I want to understand the world below." Hades raises an eyebrow. "Kid, you sure about that? Not a lot of sunshine down here." But teach he does. The two form an unlikely bond. Hercules learns that strength is not only measured in muscles, but in bearing the weight of eternity. Hades becomes a revered figure, not feared, but respected. He creates sanctuaries for lost souls, and the river Styx flows a little gentler under his gaze. For the first time in eons, Hades smiles, not with bitterness, but with peace. Maleficent, the guardian of the forest. Long before thorns encircled the kingdom, Maleficent walked the forests as its silent protector. In this happier world, she was never shunned. Instead, Queen Leah, a woman of grace, invited all magical beings to Aurora's christening, including Maleficent. Standing before the cradle, Maleficent did not curse the child. She offered a blessing. May your heart be wild, and your spirit unbound. May you love the land as I do. Aurora grew up under her mother's watchful eye and Maleficent's gentle guidance. The two often met in the glade, talking to animals and weaving flowers into crowns. As she matured, Aurora learned the deeper truths of the forest's magic and became a bridge between the human and enchanted realms. Maleficent, who once would have been scorned, was now honored. Not a villainess cloaked in vengeance, but a godmother cloaked in mystery. She watched Aurora become queen, and for once the kingdom prospered without fear of a spinning wheel or falling petals. Cruella de Vil, the fashion reformer. London was bustling with energy when Cruella de Vil returned, not as a fashion-hungry maniac, but as a changed woman. After a traumatic childhood that made her cold, Cruella had once sought status through shocking style. But in this revision, a single pup named Pongo changed her heart. Left on her doorstep in a storm, the tiny Dalmatian nudged her heart open. Cruella traded her furs for faux. She launched a fashion empire based on sustainability, creativity, and kindness. Her brand, Spotlight, employed marginalized artists, animal rights advocates, and reformed designers. Each piece told a story, not of vanity, but of resilience. She adopted a dozen rescue dogs and used her fortune to fund shelters and schools for aspiring designers. From tabloid terror to fashion icon, Cruella redefined what it meant to be fierce. Captain Hook, the lost boy who grew up captain. James Hook stared across the never sea, the ticking of the crocodile now a distant memory. In this alternate ending, Peter Pan extended a hand instead of a sword. "Come with us," Peter said. "There's more to life than chasing shadows." Hook was skeptical. He had spent decades fighting time, fearing age and seeking revenge. But something in Peter's eyes told a different story. Forgiveness. Hook took the offer. He opened a school for lost boys who wanted to return to the world. He taught them to read maps, navigate storms, and prepare for grown-up life. His hook was no longer a weapon, but a tool he used to carve wooden toys for the younger ones. Smee stayed by his side, ever loyal. Together, they turned the Jolly Roger into a floating sanctuary. And Hook? He found peace not in defeating Pan, but in helping others find their way home. Lady Tremaine. The stepmother's redemption. The tale of Cinderella is often painted in stark contrasts, innocence versus cruelty. But in this version, Lady Tremaine is more than a bitter stepmother. She is a grieving widow, a woman burdened by fear, raising 3 girls alone in a world that valued male heirs. She never wanted to hate Cinderella. She once loved her as her own. But loss hardened her heart, and envy followed. But here, on the eve of the royal ball, Tremaine sees her reflection and breaks down. "What have I become?" she whispers. Instead of locking Cinderella away, she gives her the glass slippers, herself. "You deserve the world, my dear," she says, trembling. "I was just too afraid to let you have it." Cinderella forgives her. And with the prince's help, Lady Tremaine receives a new role in court, helping orphaned girls find homes and education. Her cruelty dissolves in humility. Jafar, the advisor. Who chose peace in Agrabah? The royal court was once corrupted by power-hungry advisors. Jafar, in another life, might have been the worst of them. But in this reimagined tale, he channels his intelligence into serving wisely. He becomes Aladdin's mentor after the young man ascends the throne. Rather than seek the lamp, Jafar warns against relying on shortcuts. True power, he tells Aladdin, comes from within, not from wishes. His staff becomes a symbol of wisdom, not domination. And as time passes, Jafar helps rebuild Agrabah's education system, ensuring no child ever has to steal bread to survive again. When the genie is freed, it is Jafar who applauds the loudest. Every villain has a story. It is easy to brand someone a villain when we only see a fragment of their life. But when we look deeper, past the hurt, past the pride, past the mistakes, we might find a soul just like our own. These rewritten tales are not just fantasies. They are reminders that redemption is possible, that wounds can heal, and that sometimes a happy ending is only one choice away. So the next time you revisit your favorite Disney classic, ask yourself, what if the villain wasn't evil? What if they were just waiting for their happy ending? And maybe, just maybe, it's not too late to give it to them. The end. Or rather, a new beginning.